Everyone says cars have evolved. More power, more safety, more technology. And on paper, that's completely true. Modern cars are faster, more efficient, and objectively more advanced than anything built 20 or 30 years ago. But here's the part that doesn't get said out loud often enough. Progress doesn't always mean better, because if you spend enough time around real enthusiasts, the kind of people who actually understand chassis dynamics, engine character, and long-term ownership, you start to hear a very different opinion. Not louder, but more honest. Some of the best cars were already built decades ago, and I'll say this right at the start, even if it sounds controversial, there are cars on this list that I would personally take over their modern equivalents, not because of nostalgia, but because in some very real, measurable ways, they're simply better. Let's slow this down properly, because the LS400 isn't just reliable, it's one of the most over-engineered sedans ever built. At the center of everything is the 1UZ FE V8, a 4-litre naturally aspirated engine producing around 250 horsepower and 353 newton-meters of torque. But what matters isn't output, it's construction. Aluminum block, aluminum heads, 6-bolt main bearing caps, forged crankshaft in early models, and tolerances so tight that even today it feels smoother than many modern engines. This engine was designed to run at sustained high speeds for hours, something Toyota specifically tested on German autobahns during development. That's why the engine feels completely unstressed even at higher RPMs. No vibration, no harshness, just a constant, refined pull. The transmission is a 4-speed automatic, later upgraded, but what stands out is its calibration. It prioritizes smoothness over aggression, and even today, shifts feel more natural than many modern overly programmed gearboxes. The chassis uses double wishbone suspension on all 4 corners. This is important. It allows better wheel control, improved ride quality, and more predictable handling compared to the strut-heavy setups in many modern cars. Even after decades, the car maintains composure over rough roads in a way that surprises people.
Build quality is where it becomes almost obsessive. Panel gaps were laser measured. Interior switches were tested for tens of thousands of cycles. Even the sound of the door closing was engineered. Now, let's be real. This car isn't exciting to drive. It's not meant to be. And yes, parts like the power steering pump or aging rubber components can require attention. But here's the point. After 25 to 30 years, most LS400s still feel structurally tight. Try saying that about a modern luxury sedan loaded with electronics after the same time span. This isn't just a car. It's proof that durability used to be a priority, not a compromise. Now we move into something far more emotional, the E39 M5. Under the hood sits the S62 V8, a 4.9-litre naturally aspirated engine producing 394 horsepower and 500 newton-meters of torque. It features individual throttle bodies, which means each cylinder gets its own air intake path. This is a big reason why throttle response feels so immediate and sharp. The engine revs cleanly to just under 7,000 RPM, and the power delivery is linear. No sudden spikes, no turbo surge, just a smooth, predictable build of power that gives you full control. Paired with this is a 6-speed manual transmission, and this is critical. The clutch engagement, the mechanical shift feel, everything about it reinforces the connection between driver and machine. The chassis is where the magic really happens. Near-perfect 50-50 weight distribution allows the car to remain neutral through corners. The multi-link rear suspension provides stability while still allowing controlled rotation. And the steering, this is something modern cars struggle to replicate. It's hydraulic, not electric, which means you feel actual feedback from the road. You know when the front tires are loading up, when grip is about to break, when you can push harder. But let's be honest, this car has known issues. Cooling system components can fail if neglected, Vanos units can wear, rod bearings need attention, especially on harder-driven examples. This is not a low-maintenance car. But here's the difference. Everything that can go wrong is mechanical and understandable. There's no mystery, no hidden software problems. And when it's working properly, this car delivers something most modern M cars don't. The Toyota Land Cruiser J80 wasn't built to impress, it was built to survive. Under the hood, the most well-known engine is the 1FZ-FE, a 5.4-litre inline-six, producing around 212 horsepower and 373 newton-meters of torque. It's a cast-iron block, which immediately tells you the priority is strength over weight. The tuning is conservative. The engine runs under low stress, which is exactly why it lasts so long. The drivetrain includes full-time four-wheel drive with a locking center differential. Many models also include front and rear locking differentials, which dramatically improve traction in extreme off-road conditions. Now here's the key feature: solid axles front and rear. This is something modern SUVs have almost completely abandoned. Solid axles provide better articulation, meaning the wheels stay in contact with the ground over uneven terrain. They're also stronger and simpler than independent systems. The suspension travel, the chassis strength, the drivetrain simplicity, it's all built with durability in mind. Yes, it's heavy, over 2,100 kilograms. Yes, fuel economy is poor. Yes, it's slow. But none of that matters in the environment this car was designed for. Modern SUVs rely heavily on electronics, traction control systems, cameras, terrain modes, and they work, until they don't. The J80 doesn't depend on that. It depends on mechanical grip and structural strength. And that's why, decades later, you still see these vehicles operating in deserts, mountains, and remote regions around the world. Mazda MX-5 Miata NA. This is the car that proves you don't need power to create a great driving experience. The NA Miata comes with either a 1.6-litre or 1.8-litre inline-4 engine, producing between 116 and 133 horsepower. That's modest, but the car weighs under 1,000 kilograms. That power-to-weight ratio, combined with its balance, is what makes it special. The layout is simple: front engine, rear-wheel drive, perfect 50-50 weight distribution. The suspension is double wishbone on all four corners, again something many modern cars don't offer at this level. This allows precise control of wheel movement, improving grip and handling consistency. The steering, especially in earlier models, is incredibly communicative. You feel road texture, tire load, and grip levels directly through your hands. And the chassis is playful. You can rotate the car mid-corner with throttle, you can control weight transfer intuitively, it teaches you how to drive properly. Now let's address the obvious. It's slow in a straight line. There's no arguing that. But that's also why it works. You can push the car to its limits without needing extreme speed. You experience everything: grip, balance, control at accessible levels. Modern sports cars are faster, but they're also heavier, more complex, and often less engaging at normal speeds. The Miata is engaging all the time. That's what makes it timeless. Now onto the Porsche 911993. This is more than just a sports car, it's the end of a lineage. The 993 is the last air-cooled 911, and that alone gives it a completely different character. Under the rear sits a 3.6-litre flat-six engine producing between 272 and 285 horsepower. Air-cooled engines operate differently from water-cooled ones. They rely on airflow and oil for temperature control, which creates a distinct sound and feel. The engine is mounted behind the rear axle, creating a rear-heavy weight distribution. This defines how the car behaves. Under braking and corner entry, you have to manage that weight carefully. On corner exit, the traction is incredible, but only if you apply power smoothly. This is not a forgiving car. The chassis introduced a multi-link rear suspension, improving stability compared to earlier 911s, but it still retains that classic rear engine dynamic. Weight is around 1,370 kilograms, light, compact, and mechanically focused. The steering is hydraulic, full of feedback. The car communicates constantly. You always know what it's doing. Modern 911s are objectively better in terms of performance, but they're also easier. The 993 requires skill. And that's the difference. You don't just drive it, you learn it. And once you understand it, the experience is something modern cars struggle to replicate. Now step back and look at all 5 of these cars together. Different purposes, different categories, but the same philosophy. They were built in a time when engineers had more control than marketers, when durability mattered more than features, when driving feel mattered more than numbers. Modern cars aren't worse, they're just built for a different world, a world of convenience, regulations, and constant upgrades. But for enthusiasts, for people who actually care about what a car feels like, how it's built, and how it ages, these cars still represent something special.